Hi, everybody. I'm Caitlin, one of the youth librarians at Skokie Public Library, and I'm here tonight with Shelley and Katie, two librarians who live life in full color. And that's a good thing because tonight we are excited to talk to you about some graphic novels that we really love. I love them for a lot of reasons. I like that graphic novels offer multiple points of entry into a story. I am not always the most visually observant person. I tend to absorb things more viscerally or emotionally. Through pictures, graphic novels give us a visual entry point into how a character is feeling. Plus, there are often lots of important details in the pictures that help deepen the plot and action. The words and pictures work together to tell a story. You couldn't have one without the other, which provides a nuanced and, I'm going to go ahead and say, deep reading experience.
Yes. Pictures are also great for kids who might be struggling with how they feel about themselves as readers. Like you mentioned, Caitlin, the pictures can give great visual cues about what's happening in the story, while the text is in smaller segments that can feel more manageable to those who feel overwhelmed by big blocks of words. If I talk to a child who tells me that they don't like books or reading, graphic novels are often the first thing I think of to offer because they look so fun and they typically read pretty quickly, which also makes them feel more manageable. And they really sneakily get in there and cement that love of a story.
Yeah, I just want to add that learning to enjoy graphic novels was a learning process for me. And adults who haven't read a lot of them might have a similar experience. I couldn't figure out how to pay attention to so many pictures plus the text and go back and forth. It's been a long time since I read Archie comic books as a kid. But I persevered and I realized the joy and rich experience graphic novels provide. Parents and caregivers and teachers too sometimes think that graphic novels aren't really reading, but just like with early readers, graphic novels can use richer and more elaborate vocabulary because the illustrations, as you guys have said, help kids to decode the words. Kids who are maybe not daunted by reading a graphic novel that's 200 pages long might be daunted by reading 200 pages of text. I'd even had a kid say to me, don't give me any books that are just like a wall of text. And so that, rings true to me about, a lot of kids. And also there's really something for every kind of reader. Realistic fiction, fantasy, scary books, action comics, comedy. We even have a whole section of fact-filled nonfiction in a graphic form. So without further ado, let's get into it. We talked a little bit about those older readers who might not feel so confident, but one thing that we're so excited about is graphic novels for our newest readers. There's tons coming out, and these books are perfect for sharing with your kindergarten through second graders. I'm going to start us off with Baloney and Friends by Greg Pizzoli. Uh, Super cute. You can just tell by the pictures how wonderful that is. So Baloney the Pig and his three animal friends are sure to delight kids and grown-ups too. Like the Mo Willems Elephant and Piggy books, there's lots of humor, plus the friendship woes and the friendship wins. These are shelved in easy fiction, but they read like graphic novels. But just like with all kids fiction, we look for relatable characters and a good story. In the first chapter, Baloney talks directly to the readers while he introduces the book and the cast of characters. Crabbit is, as you can guess, a crabby rabbit who mostly says things like whatever and fine and yeah, right. These are comforting, silly, and a great one for reading together as a family, or your kids can enjoy them on their own. There are 3 stories, 2 mini comics, and a how to draw for each of the characters.
Awesome. Thanks, Shelley.
Sure.
I have a couple more great books about friendship for our youngest readers. The first is Simon and Chester Super Detectives by Cale Atkinson. Simon is a ghost, Chester is a boy. Simon used to haunt Chester's grandmother's house, so that's how they become friends. In this edition, they are super sleuths solving the case of the mysterious pug. Who does it belong to, and why is it in Grandma's kitchen? They are silly and funny, but don't let that fool you. They are super serious about their detective duties. The layout of the panels makes it easy to follow along with the colorful pictures and the text. This is an engaging story for kids and adults with lots of laugh out loud moments, making it a fun read aloud to enjoy together. And my next is Fitz and Cleo by Jonathan Stutzman. So speaking of ghosts, how about a sibling best friend duo named Fitz and Cleo? I also happen to really love their feline sidekick, Mr. Boo, whose favorite place to sleep is on top of Fitz's head. The name is also perfection. Fitz and Cleo do typical sibling things like eating ice cream, launching paper airplanes, and stargazing, proving 100% that having a sibling can actually be fun sometimes. This is a great intro to graphic novels with clear, colorful panels and minimal text. So if you like Elephant and Piggy, like Shelley mentioned, or the Narwhal and Jelly series, you will without a doubt fall for Fitz and Cleo.
Katie, Haven and I just read Fitz and Cleo this last week, and we both loved it. I had not read it before. Another great thing about graphic novels, I think, for this age group is that they're really fun to read together. Is this how you read it with your guys too? I read Fitz's parts, and Haven read Cleo, and it really was super great.
Yeah, totally. And even like Edwin and Orson, my two sons, together will read them, and too, they love them so much.
We also just read Mimi and the Cutie Catastrophe by Shauna J. Grant, which, as much as Mimi might hate to hear it, is super adorable. The exuberant pictures alone are worth the price of admission. I find these extremely attractive. Like, I love everything about this cover. Mimi is an undeniably cute little girl who feels like because she is so cute, she is not taken seriously. So, with the help of her magic toy dog Penelope, she tries on a bunch of different personalities. In the end, she discovers, and I think that we can all agree, that being yourself is best. I really liked this one. So here's another one that I love. This is Arlo and Pips. It's really different from Mimi, but also really awesome. This first one in the series is called King of the Birds. It's written by Elise Gravel. And this is another book featuring two buddies who have really different personalities. Arlo is a crow who, like most crows, is really, really smart and basically thinks he's the best. And Pips is this little guy down here who is not afraid to let him know that he is being silly. I love the two characters, and I also love to learn cool facts, and this book is full of them. Each short chapter of the book is peppered with fascinating information about crows. So you can see on this page where they've got their narration going on, they're talking to each other, but then down where you see the star in the box, that is a fun fact about crows, and I love it. It's on just about every page. There is one part of the book that implies that crows love shiny things, and that may in fact not be true, but I think it's worth it anyway. I think Elise Gravel has a great sense of humor, and this book is no exception to that.
I agree. I love Arlo and Pip so much. I love it when a funny book sneaks in a bunch of facts, and I love it when it doesn't even try to be sneaky. One thing that was added in the renovation that we really like is our nonfiction graphic novel collection. And here are a few of my favorites. First is the Science Comics series. Get to know your universe with this series of graphic novel introductions to Earth's most wondrous resources, amazing animals, and the marvelous human body. Each one is packed with facts, figures, and a glossary to give your brain a workout. From the solar system to trees to cats, bats, buildings, and bridges, this series covers almost everything. In the digestive system, a tour through your guts, we take an unforgettable trip through the gastrointestinal tract and learn about the wonders of saliva, mucus, and even vomit. It's like Magic School Bus 2.0, and I am here for it. I think you will love it too. I can picture spending a cold and rainy or snowy afternoon in a comfy chair with a pile of science comics to devour. They're really fun to share too. My next series is called Maker Comics. And I love this series because it takes a subject and makes it accessible through engaging plots and easy do-it-yourself instructions. You can learn to bake like a pro, fix a car, create a costume, grow a garden, live sustainably, build a robot, and so much more. In Bake Like a Pro, Sage, a wizard in training, starts an internship baking in an enchanted kitchen, where the ingredients insist that you eat them and learns the simple science behind baking. With recipes and easy to follow tutorials, you'll be able to make a perfect pizza or pie crust in no time. And I've been wanting to learn how to make my own bread for a while now. And I think reading this book gave me the confidence I need to finally give it a try. And finally, I have another graphic nonfiction book that is full of information, but written in a completely different style. This is Saving Sorya, Chang and the Sun Bear by Trang. This graphic novel is based on the author's own life and work as a conservationist. A young Vietnamese girl named Chang grows up to live her dream and is forever changed by her relationship with a sun bear named Sorya. When Chang is 8 years old, she witnesses the devastating mistreatment of a moon bear, and from this moment vows to become a wildlife conservationist. This book is full of facts galore. Like, did you know there are 2 species of bears indigenous to Vietnam? The moon bear and the sun bear. We learn a lot about sun bears. Like, they're they're not carnivores, they're omnivores, love coconuts, and spend more time in trees than any other bear, which I thought was really cool. We also learn a lot about the terrible reasons these animals were abandoned and rescued, and the struggles Chang and her colleagues face rehabilitating them to be healthy enough to return to the wild. For full disclosure, there are some scenes depicted that show the aftermath of the animal abuse that Chang witnessed, but there are so many more scenes where we are enveloped in Chang's voracious study of bears, her passion for following her dreams, and her immense love for the well-being of Sorya and all animals. It reads like a beautiful adventure story, and the illustrations make it magical. Chang's goal of finding Sorya a safe home to be free is realized, but their love and friendship will always remain. I cannot recommend this one enough for kids in grades 4 to 6. However, I should say that I read this together with my 2nd grader, and he absolutely loved it and has reread it many times.
It's so beautiful. I really love the illustrations. I have not read this one yet.
It's so good. I mean, it just transports you, and it's one of those that just like stays in your heart. At least for me, it's got a hold of me.
So I have a book too that is full of information, and it is also quirky, strange, and sometimes hilarious. This is Sherlock Bones. It is written by Renee Treml. Our protagonist here is literally a skeleton in a natural history museum. He also happens to be the self-proclaimed greatest detective in the whole museum. With his trusty sidekick Watts, who is a stuffed parrot, he must solve the mystery of the royal blue diamond. This book has a great sense of humor. This story is funny and pretty weird, and there is a lot to look at here. The most fun might be in trying to solve the mystery before Sherlock does. I did not accomplish this, but in my defense, I like to be surprised. So I never try to solve the mystery or figure out what's happening in the story before the protagonist does. I like to go along for the ride. I think this book is perfect. And actually it's a series. There's at least 3 of them now. This one is perfect for curious 7 to 10-year-olds who love museums and mysteries.
Oh, that sounds really great. I am a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, although I have to say I never solved the mystery before. He did in the books. But I love how many wonderful books have been based on that famous detective and his sidekick, Watson. I have another quirky, funny book called Phoebe and Her Unicorn by Dana Simpson. This graphic novel series features a super sarcastic, self-absorbed unicorn and Phoebe, a 9-year-old girl looking for a best friend. Humor and cleverness abound, and the expressive illustrations leap off the page. This is based on a syndicated comic series. Marigold Heavenly Nostrils. That's the best name I've ever heard, exclaims Phoebe. Is vain, arrogant, self-centered, and pretty unlikable on the whole. I am so beautiful that when I see myself, I cannot look away, sometimes for days, she says. Phoebe is a super smart 4th grader with a great imagination, trying to figure herself out and her place in the world. In school, with her friends, family, etc. how the two of these form a friendship and learn from each other is just delightful. And there are a bunch of them, maybe 14 or 16 of them at this point. So.
It's a lot. I love this series too. And another thing that I really like about it is that you can tell that there have been a lot of kids that um, are learning new words because of it. How many kids have come to the desk and asked us for like Phoebe and her unicorn, or like I find that very, very cool. Phoebe reminds me a little bit of Calvin and Hobbes books. Like it's got that same sort of snarky, clever sense of humor, and I'm a big fan of both comic strips. Speaking of big fans, I think that we can all agree that in terms of popularity in our graphic novel section, we've got our Dogman fans and we've got our Raina Telgemeier fans. Raina is one of the biggest names out there. Kids really respond to her, I think, her honesty and her realness, and she's really relatable. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about those realistic comics, those graphic memoirs. There are some terrific titles that have come out this year, more than we can list here, but one of them that came out recently that I really liked is Swim Team. It's written by Johnnie Christmas. In this emotionally honest story, Bree is forced out of her comfort zone and into the pool when she moves into a new apartment, also against her will, and to a new school. This book does a really great job of portraying those feelings of fear when you're new and you don't know if you fit in and you're really scared to try something new. It's a really layered story, and it also has a great intergenerational subplot that's super poignant. I loved this book.
The next one I wanted to talk about is Invisible by Christina Diaz Gonzalez. This is so good. A group of 5 kids are called into the principal's office at school and asked to relate a story about something that happened, the incident on the 18th. The kids and the readers, of course, feel very concerned about the kids. Why else would they be in the principal's office unless they were in trouble? So the story unfolds with each kid in turn being asked to tell the principal and this mysterious stranger in the room the backstory about the incident, what led up to it, how it happened, etc. We find out that these 5 kids were assigned to complete their 3.5 community service hours in the morning, cleaning and helping in the lunchroom. The principal told one of the kids that he would be with kids like you, but when they meet, the only thing they have in common is that they all speak Spanish. The setup is really interesting. The characters are individuals, and there are Spanish and English words used throughout. We learn that Spanish-speaking kids are all different in so many ways, just like all kids are, in where they come from, how good their Spanish or their English is, what their interests are, etc. The theme of not judging people based on our own assumptions comes through loud and clear. Reader beware, I won't say any more. And the book deals with such issues as immigration, homelessness, family separation, and lots more. It's beautiful.
I really loved this book. I liked how it was written largely bilingually. Like almost every page, there were speech bubbles in Spanish and in English. I thought that was really unique and cool.
Mm-hmm.
I actually read this book while I was waiting to go through some horrible dental trauma, and it was so good that it took my mind off of what was about to happen to my molar. The next book that I have, I know that's a really good selling point. It's that good, people. The next one that I have is The Tryout by Christina Soontornvat, and it is illustrated by Joanna Cacao. Here, young Christina decides that she wants to try out for the cheerleading squad. In her school in the 1990s, you are not going to believe this, in order to make the team, you had to try out in front of the entire student body, who would then vote on whether or not you made the cut. Can you imagine?
No.
I saw an interview of her talking about this because this is a true story. This really happened to her. So you would go through the first round of auditions and you would audition in front of the team and the coach. And then if you made that cut, then you would have to go and they'd have like a special assembly. So then it became a popularity contest.
Oh God.
Horror, like it gave me the horror chills just hearing her talk about it. I thought this book was amazing. There's also a lot to think about here. It touches on issues of race and power and growing up different in the 1990s. I never tried out for cheerleading, but I definitely worried about being different from my peers. So this book is very, very honest, and I guarantee you will be rooting for Christina the whole time. Another thing that I really liked about this book is the back matter. She includes some photos of herself as a seventh grader and her best friend, and they are adorable. I snagged this picture from her website. I love looking at pictures of real people and the stories that they tell. I think that they're very fun.
That's really cool. I have another graphic memoir. This is Stepping Stones by Lucy Knisley, and it's the first in a series called Peapod Farm. There's only one other book out, but I'm hoping there'll be more. This is a super honest graphic novel where Jen, our protagonist, suddenly has to move to the country to a farm with her mom, her mom's new boyfriend Walter, and two stepsisters. And this graphic novel, as I said, is a memoir. It's not nonfiction, but it's inspired by the author's own life. She not only has to take on chores at Peapod Farm and work the stand at the farmer's market, but she also has to deal with two new sisters and has an especially hard time with Andy, who seems to be perfect at everything. She really misses her old life and friends and dad. She did not want to leave, and she's really insecure about her place in this new family. But watching her adjust to this life that she did not choose and she thinks does not suit her at all is really authentic and quite lovely, as are the illustrations.
I feel like there is not enough time to talk about all of the books that we love. Like as I was putting together my list, I just there were so many that I felt like I had to leave out. And honestly, like I think we could have spent an entire hour talking about realistic comics and graphic memoirs. We didn't even get to talk about the excellent Miss Quinces by Kat Fajardo or the amazing A Tale as Tall as Jacob by Samantha Edwards. That's just two of the about thousand that came out this year that are truly outstanding. Before we go, I did want to quickly highlight one fantasy because we didn't even really get to that genre. And graphic novels and fantasy are like peanut butter and jelly, like they are made for each other. So I wanted to talk about one that was a real treat to read this year. Obviously, we need 40 book chats just on graphic novels because we have barely scratched the surface, but this is Swan Lake, Quest for the Kingdoms. It is written by Ray Tercerio and it is illustrated by Megan Kearney. It's loosely based on the ballet Swan Lake, but this book is chock full of adventure. It has magic, butt-kicking princesses, villains, and of course, a heroic bear. I really liked this book a lot, but my son Desi, who's in sixth grade, devoured it. He has read it no less than 3 times and has asked me when the sequel is coming out. Lots of times I believe there is going to be a sequel coming out. Come on, Ray Tercerio, get it together.
I agree. We could talk about graphic novels of all types all day. I just have to show you the cover of one that I just discovered. They're coming out all the time. This one's Frizzy.
Oh,
And I used to be a redheaded frizzy girl, so I fell in love with this. I'm not quite done with it, but it is amazing so far. We are putting together some great graphic novel lists, one for younger kids, one for realistic graphic novels for about 3rd to 6th graders, and one fantasy and sci-fi list. So stop by the kids' desk and we will help you and your kids find something to love, guaranteed.
and that brings us to the end of our list, and it is a really good one. You can find all of these books and so many more in the kids' room at Skokie Public Library.
And if you can't find what you need or you don't know what you need, we are here for you. In case you can't tell, Shelly, Caitlin, and I, along with the rest of the youth services team, love talking about books. So come and see us.
Yeah, see us in person, or you can fill out a book match request. And that's when you tell us something about you, and then we put together a personalized list and email it to you. We offer this service for grown-ups, teens, kids, aged kindergarten and up. You can find a link in our chat or on our website at skokielibrary.info.
Thanks so much to everyone for tuning in. Like everybody else said, come visit us in the library. Tell us a joke or tell us about your favorite graphic novels. We can't wait to see you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.